Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Beth. I go by Be More Creative both here on FlossTube and on Instagram. So I posted this finish over in the Caterpillar CrossStitch group. I also showed you on my YouTube channel, and I had so many people asking how I finished it, and I'm not very good at trying to explain things in words. So I've not really done many tutorials. I'm not even really kind of saying this is a tutorial. It's more of a this is how I've done it kind of thing, but I am ready to finish my second one. So I have my second one stitched already, and as I said, this was the Caterpillar CrossStitch subscription box, the most recent one that just came out. They finished their 3 in one line. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, but when I saw this pattern, I knew I wanted to make some kind of hanging ornament to go onto my pegboard. And I was in Hobbycraft and I saw these and I was really hoping they were going to work, which is why I've got one already done because I was so excited I just had to do it. So these are, as I said, these blanks are from Hobbycraft. They are the E24 hanging wood egg decoration in white, and they're 12 centimeters by 8.5 centimeters. And they've got this gorgeous enamel finish on the front, and on the back is a wooden piece with this wooden twine. So the way I've done mine is I have finished mine onto the white side. I have the wood at the back, but you could finish it on the wood if you wanted to. And I've kept the twine, I've just added a bow. So I'm just going to put that one to one side. Now what I did was first of all, I drew around my template. So I literally just traced around the edge of this. I then folded that and I have trimmed it down. So that way I would have a little bit of a gap around the edge. Okay, and there's not really any way of me showing that. It's just I've already created the template. I can tell you that this is not exact, but my one is about 7.5 centimeters at its widest point, which is a centimeter less than my outline. I tried to do it so I could get a centimeter less, and then I just really eyeballed it to make it look how I wanted to do it. So this is my template. I have already cut out a piece of, this is adhesive mount board, but you could use foam board, anything like that. I've already cut that out to the same size as my template. And then that way it's going to fit on quite nicely on there. The other thing I did with my template, is each time I trimmed it a little bit and made sure that it still covered my cross stitch piece. So that way I knew my piece would be perfectly in the middle and I wouldn't have too many issues. You can see I have one stitch edge, which is quite close on this one, but it will still work out absolutely fine. So I've cut out my foam board, this is mount board. I've cut that out so it matches up. And I have 2 pieces of wadding. Now I have wadding from when I used to, when I made a quilt for a family member. So I still have some left, but if you don't have this, you can use felt sheets. That's what I used to use. I have one that is cut exactly to the same size as my template. And my other one, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim it down just a little bit the whole way round. And the reason I want to do this is because I found that when I just have them the same size as my template, you don't get that nice kind of curve shape to the egg. So I'm not sure if you can see on this one, it kind of domes round a little bit. And that is because my pieces are not exactly the same size. So what I'm going to do is just try and peel this off. I'm surprised that peeled so quickly actually on camera. So my first one I'm just going to stick directly down. That's the one that matches the same size as the template. I always just add a dot of hot glue. I don't need a whole lot. I don't want to have like a mound of hot glue, just a dot, just so I can secure my second piece in place. And that is why I'm going to start stitching. So I'm just going to move things out the way. And I'm going to bring my stitched piece back in. So with this, what I'm going to do is, I've already ironed this. It doesn't have to be perfect because you are going to be stretching this into place. I'm going to lay my back piece on so it covers my stitching, and I'm just going to have a look from the front how that looks. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I can see already that I need to move it up a little bit so it covers that section. And I'm just kind of seeing, does it kind of all tally up? Okay, now it's not going to be absolutely perfect because I'm working with an egg shape. If you want to spend the time making it perfect, you can. I'm just making sure, does it look like when I pull it into place and stretch it, is it going to stretch nicely the whole way around the piece? So as you can see, obviously this will all be flattened down. It looks like it's going to fit. So I have a little bit of an edge here, and that's absolutely fine. As you can see on my other piece, I do have a bit of an edge. I'm not trying to make this perfect, because the more I try and make this perfect with this kind of shape, the more I am going to struggle to get it there. All I want it to do is look kind of somewhat even around the piece, that there's not going to be any kind of things that make me surprised. So I'm quite happy with how that looks. So I'm going to hold it very tight. I'm going to turn it around the other way. I'm just going to open it back up so I know this is the area where I want my piece. Now I temporarily just use a little bit of Scotch Magic tape just to hold that down in place just for a moment. Okay, and that's just so I can have a little bit of leeway. What I'm going to do is then I'm going to trim off and just cutting around the shape my excess fabric, because I don't want to be trying to have to deal with all of that excess. Okay, so now this is the scary part. I've cut down my fabric. Is it going to fit? I know it does. I've already checked it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have just got a normal sewing needle with normal thread. Now this is actually, I think I've got this from Wilko, you can get it anywhere. This is just normal sewing thread, and I always double mine over so it is a little bit stronger. And quite simply, I'm just going to start in one area around the edge and leave a little bit of a tail, and I am just going to take some large chunk stitches, I'm not sure if you can see this, I'm hoping you can, around the whole piece. And I don't worry if my stitches are not even, because I do lace up the back of my pieces, so you can still play around with it. I just want to kind of do a gathering stitch so that way I can kind of pull my piece into it. When I get to the bit where there's tape, I'm just going to remove that tape. I'm going to hold on to this tape because I will use it again. So I'm just going to pull that round and just keep doing my gathering stitch the whole way around the piece. If your piece slips a little bit, don't worry, because you still do have time to fix this. And as I said at the start, I am not a professional. I just mess around with this. I was really afraid of finishing things. I have a huge stack of things from when I first started stitching that I never finished because I was just too scared to do it. Whereas now I'm just like, let's give it a go. What can go wrong? I mean, I stitched this piece. These are quite small. If I really messed it up, I could stitch it again if I needed to. But to be honest, there's not a whole lot that you can't fix. I tend to use needle and thread for this part because then I do have that chance of, if I've gone really wrong, of undoing it. But it's entirely up to you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tail from the beginning and my other piece, and I am just going to pull both of these threads. And as you'll see, it's going to start gathering my pieces together. Okay. So if I'm going to turn it round, you can see I can start fiddling with it a little bit. I want it to be pulled just a little bit in this direction. So I'm just going to do that, tighten up these stitches again, and just pull it to where I want it to be. Okay. So this is the part that I tend to spend quite a lot of time doing. I fiddle with it, I keep going, I keep deciding, do I need to redo sections? That is just how I tend to be. But what I am going to do is, I quite like how that is. So then, sorry, I'm off camera. I'm just going to start working my way round, and I'm just going to start lacing the piece. Once again, I'm not being too neat about it. When I run out of thread, like I have done here, I'm just going to use one of those pieces of tape to tape that down. And I'm just going to thread up my needle again. So just 1 second. And as I do, I just making sure that I thread up my needle so it is double threaded. So by that, I'm literally just folding the piece over on itself. And I'm just going to tie a knot at the back. So no one's going to see this part. It is laced up behind my piece. And then I'm just going to carry on working my way round my piece. And I'm just going in close to the edge. So I'm not on the edge, so you're not going to see it, but I am very close to that edge. It's very difficult to do this on camera. So very close to that edge, just making sure that I don't go over the piece. And I'm just going to keep working my way round so I've got most of it laced up. And at this point, if you need to like move things around, if you don't like how something's looking, you can still kind of pull it around, make it to how you want it to be. It will still work. And this lacing is just tightening it all up. As I said, you could do with this with hot glue. I tend to lace a lot of my pieces because then I can undo them if I need to. I'm not forced to stay in the same thing, because I have done it where I finish something and a few years later I'm like, that's not my style anymore. I don't like how I've done that. And we go from there. So I'm just gonna cut that bit of tape down, and I'm gonna thread up my needle. I can't even speak today. Thread up my needle again. Now, I do have to say, with my lacing, I do probably overlace. I don't know if that's possible. I just like to know, especially if it's something that's not going to be in a frame, if it's something that could be touched. I work in a school, so my students are teenagers, but they are going to be touching things. So I do tend to make sure mine are laced really tight, so that way if they do touch them, it's not going to be an issue. I'm not overly sensitive with my cross stitch. If anything is very, very special or I don't want people touching it, I put it in a frame. But things like this, they're meant to be enjoyed. I can hang it up in my room, or I can hang it up in the school office. The students absolutely love having the cross stitching decorations around. And I love to see it because it encourages them to start stitching and just enjoy things. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a load of excess fabric here, so I am just going to put my needle through that and just come out on the other side and just pull that tight. So now my piece is all laced. Okay, so it's all laced, it's all cute at the back. I'm just going to put my needle away. Now you could, if you wanted to have more of this white on display, you could simply just hot glue that straight down and it would still look really cute. But the thing is, I'm never very good at covering my lines. And you can see here, there's a little bit of a bulge there. It goes in a bit, it's out again. It's an egg shape. It's not meant to be perfect. But I would be looking at this. Oh, I've just realised I've got a thread there. Let me just fix that bit. So this is where I've just laced over it and didn't realise because I was filming, and I have just gone around the front of the piece rather than the back. So to do that, I'm just simply going to stick that down. It will be hot glued afterwards. So as you can see, it's not perfect, but it does work. It's very simple, and this is all in real time. So this whole thing, I'm on about 14 minutes, so about 12 minutes of doing it. I did pre-cut my sticky board, but that only took me a couple of minutes. So I have this gorgeous sari ribbon. So these were the right colours. I loved these colours against the piece, and I used these for a couple of my other pieces. So this is where I'm going to bring in my hot glue gun. And when I've got odd shapes like this, where it's not a square, it's not a rectangle, so my pieces aren't straight, there's no corners to keep them clear, all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of glue around the edge. And I don't know if you can see, I'm literally just dibbing and dabbing it. I don't need a whole lot of glue. I'm going to start by putting my ribbon on. Now, I'm not going to pull my ribbon really tight. I don't want it to be perfect going around the edge. You see on some of mine it disappears in, it comes back out. I really like that because it draws away from the fact that my edges aren't perfect. If you wanted to put rickrack or any kind of ribbon and you wanted to make it tight, that is entirely up to you. I've just gone with a soft sari ribbon. I tend to use sari ribbons on a lot of my circular pieces just because it is so much fun to play with. It's basically just a piece of fabric turned in to make a ribbon, and that just works so well. And as I said, you can see I'm using the smallest little bit of glue. I don't want loads of glue seeping out onto my cross stitch fabric, so I'm just using a little bit of glue. As you can see, I can pull this round and then I've got my really soft edging. So I'm just going to quickly keep going around this piece. And this is where, if you have a load of excess fabric, so I have some of these pieces where I could have cut a little bit closer, I didn't. What I do is, as I go round and I get to those pieces, to make sure that it finishes a little bit easier, I just put a dab of glue and I just fold the fabric over on itself. And I fold it in the way that I've laced it. So these ones want to go back on themselves, so that can go back on itself. Sorry, I just caught myself with the hot glue there. Okay, and I'm just going to keep working my way round until I get to the edge. This is so much easier to do when I'm not trying to reach over everything. You guys should see how I'm recording this. I don't film tutorials, I don't film overhead videos very often. So there is like, you're balanced on top of multiple boxes with my phone stand supported by water bottles to be able to get this video. So apart from getting hot glue everywhere, so I do apologise. Right, so that is how I'm looking. So all I'm going to do with this sari ribbon is just make sure I pull it out however I want it to look. I don't want a whole lot on display because I still want to see my white peeking through the edge, but I do want it so I can pull it so I have some fabric showing. And then quite simply, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I am just going to dollop the glue all over the middle. I'm not going to go close to the edge with that sari ribbon. This will hold it on. This piece is not a heavy piece. And then I'm just going to place it where I want it, and I'm just going to press it down into place. So you could stop there if you want to, but I just like to add a little something because you can see my top, there is more space at the top than there is the bottom of my piece. So I am just going to simply add a little bow, and I've lost my ribbon now. I'm not going to do a whole lot with this little bow because it's not the focus of the piece. The bow matches my other Easter pieces. That's why it's such a contrast to this. And simply with this one, all I'm going to do, get rid of the hot glue on my fingers. I'm just going to make a really messy bow. So I'm just literally taking a piece of ribbon and I'm just folding it over on itself. And that's what I mean by messy bow. So I'm just going to carefully dab of hot glue. And And then I'm going to stick mine onto the metal hook because I don't want to go too far up the piece. So I'm just going to stick that down onto the metal hook so I can put my little stars there. And then I'm just going through my random button box and I'm just going to take out, I want a circular one, is that too big? I'm just going to use a little pink button and it wouldn't be a tutorial without me running out of hot glue, would it? So, and then I'm just going to simply put that straight on and I will clear up, when it dries, I will just pull off any stragglers from the piece. So there we go, literally 20 minutes and I have a fully finished piece. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do, literally just pulling off the stragglers, like the little lines of hot glue. But there you go, that is my second one done, so I just have the last one to do. But it is just so simple of a finish, and I just want to put it out there that these finishes are simple, but they are really cute. It's very easy. Finishing doesn't have to be scary, and I mean, I had an idea, I wanted these at hanging ornaments, and that's what I've done. I've just simply created them to match each other. Okay, I mean, it's as simple as that. You can go into more effort, you can do the big lovely bows like I have on some of my other finishes, where you really have, you can layer them up, you can make your bows look pretty. But I tend to, when you've got something like this where your stitching is your piece that you really want it to stand out on its own, and these pieces do, then a simple little finish and literally 20 minutes time. So I really hope this has helped those that wanted a tutorial and wanted to see how I finished them. I've absolutely loved them. I'm going to be stitching the third one this afternoon and I will be finishing it exactly the same way as these ones because it's so cute. And I think the third one has the little bunny rabbit in it as well. But yeah, that is that tutorial. Thank you so much for all of your lovely comments on my videos and on my Instagram. And if you're in the Caterpillar Cross Stitch group, I am just amazed and blown away by all the lovely comments I've had on there. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sally and the team, for coming up with this gorgeous pattern. If you're not subscribed to the Cross Stitch box, definitely something. I love it. It's every other month, so it's every 2 months. The next one coming out, I believe, is a woodland theme, and I have a fun way of finishing that one, completely different to these, but these just kind of, to me, called to be little Easter ornaments. So let me know if you're doing these and how you're going to finish them, and I will see you for my regular floss tube video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye!